And so once again, we trudge through the sludge that is another episode of Star Trek Starfleet Academy. This is episode 7, just 3 more to go after this one, and then season 1 will be done. So there's a kind of a spring break type holiday happening this week. The cadets are dismissed for All Worlds Day. Jayden, the Klingon guy, and his boyfriend, Kyle, they're going to Ibiza. And Darum, the jock guy, he's jealous. Just a reminder, folks, we're still talking about Star Trek here. Yeah. So Darum is kidnapped, and Jayden, in his Klingon lady skirt, has to go through this wormhole to rescue him. He's been taken to his homeworld by his people. Who cares why? It's not like it's even remotely possible to be interested in these one-dimensional walking cliches of characters, let alone concerned for their safety. Caleb stays aboard the ship, or the Starfleet Academy building. Are we forgetting how absurd it is that the USS Athena is both a starship and Starfleet Academy? Anyway, he's busy sunbathing and occasionally swearing, because this is Star Trek now. 16 minutes go by in this episode with basically nothing really happening. He and Genesis are having a conversation that's written so poorly, but is trying desperately to sound cool and clever, but I have no idea where it's going and what relevance it has on the plot. Kind of like every other conversation on the entire show, actually. So Darum is supposed to be married in a traditional ceremony by his people. Oh boy, I wonder where this is going to go. You know, he's apparently going to stay on the planet. No, he's not. No, he's not. Because why? Because this character is a regular character on the show. He's promised to his best friend from childhood, so Jayden is going to be his best man. Meantime, Genesis and Caleb just go goofing around at the academy, and he's talking to her about his Betazoid girlfriend. Apologies, I still can't, her name just won't go in my head for some reason. I can't retain it. It's immensely dull. And why is anyone caring about this? Talking about their feelings, talking about relationships. This is exactly what we knew this show was going to be about. It's Dawson's Creek, One Tree Hill, and Beverly Hills 90210 in space. But actually, I don't want to insult any of those shows, because those shows were very popular in their particular genre. They had a dedicated audience, and they weren't my cup of tea, but they were remembered by their fan base, right? So there's people who care about those shows and think fondly of them. No one is going to think fondly of Star Trek Starfleet Academy in the same way. This show is way worse than all of those shows combined. Plus, this series is way more stunning and brave. Case in point, Jayden dresses like this. Just a reminder, he's a Klingon. And there's this sort of subtle, very subtle, awkward romantic tension again between him and Darum. This is Star Trek now. And as for the pointless, meandering subplot of Caleb and Genesis, if you could even call it a plot, turns out Genesis had an ulterior motive, daring Caleb to break into the bridge just as a ruse so she could get access to a database and delete some stuff about her, some recommendation letters on her academy application that contained information she didn't want seen. She's been referred to the Command Fast Track program because of her actions in the previous episode, and she needs this information removed. Why? Well, because the letters of recommendation that got her into the academy, they say that Genesis is driven by fear and doesn't trust that she belongs where she is. Whatever that's supposed to mean. Emotional bile. She has exemplary scores, but apparently her teachers still feel that she thinks she doesn't belong. Firstly, how could someone make that determination without mind reading? Secondly, why would that even remotely preclude her from the command program? It's just an opinion, and it makes no sense given the context of her recent actions. She's only being recommended to the Command Academy because of the great work she did in the previous episode. Her actions should speak louder than other people's words from some time ago. In other words, it sounds like Genesis is so amazing, she doesn't even know how amazing she really is, but she's kind of insecure about how amazing she is. Predictably, Darum eventually decides to not get married because his wife tells him that he's not suited to that kind of life anyway, and he and Jaden go back to Starfleet Academy. There's a meteor shower at the end. Caleb decides to contact the Betazoid chick, who he hasn't seen since she was in a coma, and he feels uncomfortable talking since she invaded his mind telepathically. But anyway, he sends her this message at the end, and that was that. So basically, to recap, Darum decides to not get married. Genesis gets in trouble for trying to delete some files that weren't actually a big deal in the first place, and Caleb sends an audio recording to his girlfriend. Next to nothing happened during this episode. The good news was, this episode was a little bit shorter than the previous ones at only 55 minutes. What I'll say in conclusion is that we've had 7 episodes of this show now. Every one of them so far is among the worst television I've ever watched. Worse than Picard Season 1, probably. To be fair, Picard Season 1 was very, very bad. So was Star Trek Discovery, all 5 seasons. I would describe this series, like much of New Trek, as emotional diarrhea in a science fiction package. This isn't something surprising, of course. Star Trek Discovery was full of that. Michael Burnham cried all the time over the slightest, most insignificant thing. And I just want to address something else, because this comes up a lot in Star Trek Starfleet Academy, which was the burn, right? The burn story arc. So the burn is this, for those of you who don't know, and I'm sure there's a lot of you who don't know actually what caused the burn. Just strap in for this one. Okay, so the burn is this cataclysmic event where all of the dilithium in the galaxy exploded at once and killed billions of people. Yeah. What caused this absolutely absurd event, you might ask? It just gets so much worse. What caused this lunacy was that there was a Kelpian child named Sukal who had this strange genetic makeup. Okay, he was bonded radioactively to dilithium on this planet. I know. I know. Anyway, his mother died and he got really upset and he cried out in pain. He cried out in grief. And all of that emotion rippled through the galaxy across subspace. I'm not making this up. And because subspace is linked to all the dilithium everywhere, yeah, okay? So him crying out caused all of the dilithium across the galaxy on planets and in starships to explode. That's what caused the burn. That was the burn, okay? That's not a joke. That's actually canon. An alien got upset that his mother died, and him crying out in pain blew up all the dilithium across the galaxy. You see, this is the issue with New Trek under Secret Hideout and Alex Kurtzman. It's all about feelings over intellect. Emotion trumps intelligence. Emotion trumps reason and rationality. Big dramatic explosions for no reason in order to contrive a conflict. Like how they blew up Romulus and Vulcan in the same movie in Star Trek 2009. Star Trek Discovery, because they can't think of anything else, just blow stuff up, and that's a big deal, and then we'll create a story out of it, right? Star Trek Discovery Season 2, they investigate these signals throughout the galaxy and this mysterious Red Angel, and there's going to be this cataclysmic event that will destroy all sentient life in the galaxy. It's so tired. Turns out the Red Angel is Michael Burnham's mother. Why? Because the writers on New Trek always make the stories about some kind of personal trauma, be it a childhood trauma or a familial trauma in some way, because that way they get to justify having characters cry on screen. That's what it's about, having characters cry on screen. The sci-fi, the spaceships, the technology, the aliens, the mythology, it's all just window dressing. It's all just a vehicle, situational, a plot device in order to accomplish their goal. Make characters cry in the hopes that audiences will do the same. Telling an intelligent, thought-provoking science fiction story is of very secondary importance, if it's even secondary. I could go on to YouTube right now, and I could search for videos of dogs being reunited with their owners after many years apart. There's lots of those videos out there, right? And I'll get choked up watching it. I will choke up watching that sort of stuff. Brings a tear to my eye. But that's Star Trek now. They keep trying to tap into the same emotional chord with New Trek in order to elicit a cathartic emotional response. It's kind of a formula. Doesn't matter about the story. It's as if they don't think there's anything more significant in terms of a story than making it about a character facing their own trauma and crying about it. And that how they feel about something is more important than anything. That's why Starfleet Academy is the most concentrated and perfected, purest version of New Trek ever. Because from the get-go, it's all about relationships and young people dealing with their emotional baggage. All past New Trek was merely a dress rehearsal for this show. This is the ultimate manifestation of New Trek. To give you another recent example, in the previous episode, the Betazoid chick saved the day by losing her emotional control, screaming about her feelings, and thus blowing up the heads of the bad guys. They exploded because of her emotional outburst. And the writers think that's smart. They think that's intelligent because they couldn't come up with anything actually intelligent to conclude that story. This is Star Trek for the safe space generation who want their feelings coddled and protected. 3 more episodes remain. Thank you very much for watching. Please hit that like button. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe. Take care. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.